Hello everyone, welcome to Everything Arsenal, and this is your latest transfer news. Let's get to it straight away. We have an update on Arsenal's transfer plans from the Athletic and David Ornstein. We also have another update on Youssouf Fofana, a new defender linked to Arsenal from Crystal Palace, and also probably the last time we're going to talk about Sesko. A little update on Sesko. We're going to talk about that. But first, let's start with the update from David Ornstein and the Athletic. This is what they've had to say. Strengthening midfield is seemingly now the primary focus for Arsenal this summer. The indications are that the club are leaning towards adding a number 6 rather than a number 8, as they feel there are more attractive options in the market. So for me, as I've always said since the transfer window started, my priority is to get a midfielder and then followed by a striker and then followed by a winger. That is my priority. Still want us to get a striker, yes, but I feel like midfield is very important. Now, I usually say, you can still win games even if you have a bad goalkeeper. You could still win 5-4. You could still score goals if you had good forward players and you have a bad goalkeeper. You could still win the game 5-4. If you don't have like great forward players and stuff, you could still end up winning the game 1-0. If you have a good defense, you probably don't concede a goal, you probably don't lose the game. But for us, we do know we still have some forward players. Even if we don't buy anyone at all, we'll still score goals with Odegaard and Saka and Martinelli and all of those guys. We'll still score goals. But midfield is the engine. If you don't have a good midfield, you're going to be in trouble because that is the link between your defense and the attack. Basically, if you're going to attack, it will go through the midfield. If you're going to defend, the other team has to pass through your midfield. So the defensive midfielder is there to protect your defense. And in our case, they're there to also pick up the ball from the defenders and the goalkeeper and to push us forward, the likes of Thomas Partey. So that position is very, very important. And I want Thomas Partey to stay, but you never know. If Thomas Partey gets injured again, let's say in the first game, and Jorginho cannot play, the fixture list is now out. We've seen, like, for example, September, we'll have Tottenham and Man City, and that will come after we've played Wolves, Aston Villa away from home, and Brighton. Like the first 3 away games, Aston Villa, Man City, and Tottenham. And on top of that, there will be Champions League games. It could be Real Madrid, it could be Bayern Munich. I think it's still in pot too. So we could end up facing teams like that. You never know. You need a good squad, and midfield wise, we don't have too many options. Last time we had to play Jorginho and Rice every single game. We didn't have any options at all. Forward line, we could change it a bit. You could play Jesus, you could play Havertz and all, but you still need a clinical striker. I'm not saying you don't need a striker, but midfield for me is the priority. We need to get a midfielder. Now, on top of that, we don't even know if Partey is going to stay anyway. Could he end up leaving? If he ends up leaving, that could mean all of a sudden we need 2 midfielders, not even 1. Jorginho, I'm so happy he's staying, because if he was leaving as well, you could have had a problem, because even in terms of numbers, a player like El Neni has left. So we don't really have too many players in midfield. We had to depend on Declan Rice a lot of last season, basically from the beginning all the way to like January when he changed it, and Rice started playing more as a number 8 and Havertz pushed up front. And you know what happened after that? The moment we pushed Havertz up front and he moved Rice to the number 8, and then he started playing Jorginho as a number 6, we basically won almost every single game up until the end of the season. But before that, we're still trying to find out what to do. We're depending on the Rice in the number 6. We're still trying to sort out the number 8 position and all that. But when you have Partey there, another midfield, and then you also have a number 8, that's absolutely perfect if Rice is playing there. Now, which player are we going to get in that situation? So let's first get through this, what David Ornstein has said. So we are leaning towards getting a number 6 rather than a number 8. Now, if you get a number 8, that means you're still depending on Jorginho and Partey as a number 6, and then maybe Rice sometimes plays there, but you also have a number 8. Now, personally, I don't mind. I don't mind who we get in terms of midfield. If you get a player who can play 6 and 8, if you get a player who's going to play predominantly as a number 6, if you get a player who's going to predominantly play as a number 8, mostly that would be my last option, because I mostly want Rice to play as a number 8. And then in some games that we don't really need, we need more attackers. You can play Rice as a number 6 and then basically go with the front 5 plus Rice. You can also assist and score. You basically have a front 6 from midfield to the forward line. So that is what I want. But getting a number 8, as they've said, is pretty hard. They're looking for a number 8, but it's pretty hard. We've been linked to Xavi Simons, who's going to play more as a number 10. We've had mentions of someone like an Eze. It's very tough. It's a tough position. Unless you guys would name for me a player who would play a number 8, the number 8 position for us really well. I think Declan Rice has done an incredible job there. And I think having the number 8 position for us, it's attacking and defending. The reason why he can't play Fabio Vieira as the number 8, for example, he could create chances and all that, but defensively, will he give us what you want defensively? Because what Xhaka did that season and what Rice did last season, you need a lot there. We are basically getting at least 12, 13 goal contributions from that position, plus a lot of defensive energy. Like Declan Rice is incredible in terms of coming back and intercepting the ball, tackles, the carrying the ball from defensive position to a forward position. Declan Rice does a lot of work. So, for example, I can see Smith Rowe or Fabio Vieira doing that job for us. And there's not too many players out there who can do that for you unless you pay like 100 million for them. You can get someone like a Bruno Guimaraes, but you'll have to pay a lot of money, and we'd want to use him as a number 6. So we are looking for number 6 more than a number 8. That would mean that Rice plays as number 8 most of next season, if not all of it. So I don't know if this means it's a Partey replacement or someone to come and play with Partey and Jorginho. For me, I want both of those players to stay, and then we add another midfielder in that position. Because if we add another midfielder, let's imagine you have that new midfielder plus Partey plus Jorginho plus Rice, you can get through those games, depending on the game. If, for example, you're playing Tottenham and Man City back-to-back, you can have a game where you're playing Partey, Rice, and Odegaard in midfield. And then if you have a Champions League game in the middle, you can be like, okay, that new midfielder starts instead of Partey. Jorginho comes in the second half, depending on how the game goes. If you need to control, Jorginho can come in. Jorginho can start a few games. You rotate a lot. I don't want next season players to play 50 games. No, I want us to rotate more, players to rest more. For example, Man City, there's a time you'd not see Grealish for 2 months. You'd not even see De Bruyne for a whole season. You'd not see Alvarez for 3 months, and then they come back fresh, and they've been there, not injured, just on the bench, because there's a lot of rotation. He comes off the bench. You rarely see Doku starting 5 games in a row. There's a lot of rotation. For us, yes, there's players we are going to play every single day. Players like Odegaard and Rice, Saliba, you're going to play them every single day. But there's no problem with subbing off Gabriel and bringing in Kivio for the last 20 minutes if the game is done. No problem with taking off Saka if you're 3-0 up, but in the 55th minute, bringing in someone else, absolutely no problem. You rotate the team. Everyone feels like they're getting involved. If a player gets injured, the player who comes on, it's not just been on the bench for 4 months and not ready to play at all. No, they've actually gotten some game time, and there's no problem if someone gets injured. They just come in. They've been playing some games. So all that, if someone gets a red card or if someone is needed from the bench, it's not their first time playing in this season and it's December. No, they've had a few opportunities here and then different competitions. So that is what we need. So we need a lot of rotation. But the question is, which midfielder will that be? We've obviously been linked to Onana. That is still in the works. Let's wait and see what is going to happen with that. If we get Onana, it's going to be a 50 million signing. Now, for Onana, if Partey is staying, Jorginho is there, Rice is there, I don't mind getting an Onana, but for 50 million, that's a little bit too much. But there's a midfielder who's only going to cost us 15 million pounds. Yes, not 50, 15. Now, according to Ben Jacobs, Arsenal and AC Milan are tracking Youssouf Fofana. We already know that, to be fair. The 25-year-old is expected to leave Monaco this summer with a deal likely for over 15 million pounds. So that's around 23, 24 million euros. That is a bargain for a player who's been linked to a lot of teams, plays for France. I think that's a very, very good bargain, man. For 15 million, that all of a sudden allows you now to spend your money on a winger, on a striker, depending on our budget. That really allows us. Now, if it was Partey leaving and Fofana replacing him, I'm not comfortable with that. But if Partey is staying and then you add Fofana into that midfield, I'm totally happy with that, because that's another option, an international option who plays for France. He had a very good season at Monaco. He's going to bring some qualities into that midfield, but you'd still have to have Partey and Jorginho there just in case. I don't think you can ask Fofana in his first season, when you're trying to win the title, go on against Man City and Tottenham back-to-back weeks, do the job for us. He'll still need to, grow and learn in terms of the Premier League football, and he'll need Jorginho and players like Partey who've been there for a lot of years to, help him out. So Fofana for 15 million pounds, according to Ben Jacobs, is only going to cost 15 million. Monaco are willing to sell. AC Milan one team, Arsenal one team. I think this would be a steal. For 15 million, this would be a steal. If it was something like 50, because someone like Onana, he would cost 50. But someone who plays for France, and a lot of teams want him, and is going to bring more in terms of quality, in terms of quantity in that midfield, for 15 million, that saves you a lot of budget to use elsewhere. We can now get another goalkeeper. We can now get a left back. Maybe we can even get a defender that you're going to talk about in this video as well. So for Fofana, according to Ben Jacobs, 15 million, Arsenal and AC Milan are tracking him. I think that would be a steal. So I'd be very happy with that buy, but only if Partey is staying. If Partey is leaving and Fofana is coming in, I'd still want another midfield on top of that, just to make sure. For me, midfield is very, very important. You sort out the midfield first. That is your engine. If your midfield is not working, you're not going to score goals, and you're going to concede a lot pretty much, because you're going to concede a lot of chances, and you're not going to transition quick enough in terms of, pushing forward. And I think Fofana, if he joins that midfield of Jorginho and Partey and Rice, it would be good for us. So speaking of defenders, who we could buy if we spend this money on Fofana, Mark Guehi has been linked here. The former Chelsea player, currently playing for England at the Euros, currently playing for Crystal Palace. This is the latest news on him. Sources with a close understanding of the situation have told Court also that Arsenal and Newcastle are keen on Mark Guehi, and both clubs could try to get negotiations going by making opening bids for the player. Crystal Palace are understood to value Guehi at around £50 million, which Arsenal and Newcastle consider too high. So yeah, you'd not be surprised to hear that you consider that too high. He played the first game for England against Slovenia. He was really good. Was it Slovenia? No, it was not Slovenia. It was Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia. It was Serbia. He played against Serbia, and he was really good. I think he was he voted man of the match after Bellingham or something like that? But basically, in that game, Saka was great in the first half. Bellingham was great, and Guehi was probably the third best player alongside Declan Rice in that game. He defended well, the interceptions, the tackles, the ball recoveries. He did very, very well in that game, Mark Guehi. And he started. People didn't really expect him to start in that position, but he started and he did very well at the Euros. And at Crystal Palace, I've had their fans saying, listen, we're not surprised by these performances by Guehi for England. This is what he does every single week for Crystal Palace. Now, we are looking for left-sided defender, whether left back or left side centre back who can play both, whichever. We've been linked to Hato, we've been linked to Ignacio from Sporting, we've been linked to Fadi Kadioglu from Fenerbahce. We've been linked to several players who are playing on the left side, a lot of them. And Mark Guehi is the latest one, but he would cost 50 million. Crystal Palace would probably not sell him for anything less than that. And depending, listen, I say they don't want a defender. I want all 7 of our defenders to stay. I'm comfortable with all 7 of our defenders staying. If they stay, that allows us to get players in other positions. But I did say if a very good defender becomes available, like if Hart is available for 30 million, 35 million, if Branthwaite becomes available for 40, 45 million, then there's no problem with pouncing on them and getting them into your team. Keep on improving, because we do know Zinchenko is not going to be here forever. Gabriel is not going to be here forever. Players are not going to be here forever. And if they are, for the next 5 to 10 years, if you have Gabriel, Saliba, and you have another centre back there, and Ben White is then all of them stay intact, you can potentially win a lot of trophies, and you don't have to worry about that position for a long time. I remember there's a time in terms of our defenders, we were always worried about defenders every single season. We'd get Mustafi, you're still like, nah, this is not enough. I think Emre came in, Socrates is there as well, and then Kolasinac is signed for free from Schalke, and then you're still not satisfied with that. We had to play Maitland-Niles on the wing-back positions, not satisfied. Bellerin is back, we try him out again. It was a mess. Now we are stable. We know Ben White is going to start at right back. Tomias is available to help him out. Saliba is there, Gabriel is there, Kiva is available to help them out. We know Timber is back, Zinchenko for now is there. So we have players who are there. We know we're intact now. Zinchenko could still leave because there's rumors of him potentially leaving. So we might need another left back or left-sided defender. And Mark Guehi could be that. I don't think we'll end up selling both Zinchenko and Kivia. Personally, I want both of them to stay, so we don't have to worry about that position. But Guehi has been linked, and let's see how that one develops. They want 50 million. Let me know, do you guys rate him as a player? He has a good partnership with is it Anderson at Crystal Palace, and on the left side with Mitchell, I think they do well. And at the end of the season, Crystal Palace did incredibly well, scored goals, kept clean sheets. They were very, very good. So for him to leave, we'll have to pay 50 million. Nowadays, whichever player you want, you'd have to pay 50 million. So lastly, let's finish up on Sesko. Probably the last time we're going to talk about him. This came out from The Athletic as well. Arsenal positioned themselves as the most attractive destination had Benjamin Sesko decided to move this summer, but are not too disheartened by his decision. I'm not too disheartened as well. They will continue to follow Sesko and maintain their relationship as it remains of long-term interest. So that's interesting. You never know. Or sometimes you get linked to a player and then you never go back for them. Sometimes you get linked to a player and then you go back for them. Like a David Raya, we were linked to him before and then we went back for him. We got him when the opportunity came. But there's some players like Awar, we hear about them and then probably never hear about them again. There's players we get linked to every single transfer window, like a Douglas Luiz. And Sesko, we might get linked to him again next season, depending on what happens this season. If he becomes available again or he's ready to leave, then we can get to next season. So they want to keep that relationship going. So So the time he decides to leave Leipzig, Arsenal is his first option. He looked very good for Slovenia against they played Denmark. Yeah, he looked very, very good in that game. And he's still very young. So for those who are saying, nah, he's not ready, maybe if you give him 1 year, 2 years, if he's available again, they're keeping that relationship and we can still get him. Now, it depends. Maybe by then we already have an Osimhen, we already have another striker who's going to be here for 4 or 5 years, and maybe don't get him. But if we still need a striker by then, and not an extra striker or someone to replace someone else in that striker position, then he could be the guy to come in next year or the next season after that. So that's the latest in terms of the transfer news, the latest on Fofana, the latest on Gehi, the latest on Sesko and Arsenal's plans in terms of the midfield situation. Let me know what you make about all that. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you on the next one.